Hello YouTube people, this is a quick update on the Gingery shaper. I just wanted to show that I finished the crossfeed lead screw, and I'm going to crank this baby over so I can show you a little bit of an innovation. Most of it was built just exactly like the book calls for. What I did differently though, I had some bronze material, some large bronze rod left over from the locomotive project. So I first turned the rod, it was large, I turned it down to a short piece of it down to 1 inch in diameter, and then I put that in a 5C collet, and I used one of my collet blocks to make it square, and I drilled and tapped a 1/4-20 hole in the top and measured carefully where that needed to be, and I drilled and tapped a 3/8-16 hole right there. So that is the one departure from the book. The book calls for using 5/8 square key stock, and so I just decided to use bronze since I had it. It makes a nice nice material, dissimilar type metal to run against the steel lead screw. So I'm pretty happy with how that came out. I can think of a few fine-tuning things I'll do over there, just having rebuilt some machines before. I'll just tweak that a little bit. And the cool thing I wanted to show you, the next thing I'm working on, of course, is the vertical lead screw. And although I do have a good amount of aluminum in my little scrap bin that I'm making this thing from, I didn't want to waste any. And this is a little bit unique. These are the mounts for the vertical lead screw. So today I had a little bit of time. I took some 3/4 inch pine and cut them out, cut some dummy mounts out just to play with the spacing and to see how it would all fit. The reason I did that is I'm going to use a 1/2 inch 10 Acme threaded rod as my vertical lead screw, and I'm going to use this nut. I don't have a 1/2 inch 10 Acme tap, so I'm going to use this nut that I got from McMaster Carr a long time ago, and I'll bolt this nut to something using these 832 screws here. I've done this before, and I could show you that if y'all are interested. Let me know, put it in the comments, because I did that on my homemade milling machine that I did 10 years ago before I ever bought the Bridgeport and restored it. But here's a piece of Acme 1/2 inch 10 threaded rod that I'm going to use for the vertical lead screw, and I'm really happy about that. My game plan is I'll cut off the size that I need. That's another reason I wanted to mock this up. I'll cut it to length, and then I'll turn the bottom bit of it down to 3/8 inch diameter, so it'll just rest or ride in the lower mount. And then the same thing with the upper. I'm going to turn the upper portion of it and a little bit extra to 3/8 inch diameter, and that way I can make some kind of a small adjustment knob that will fit onto the 3/8 what's left, which that's what this is here. This is a 3/8 inch diameter piece of steel, 12L14 steel, just as a dummy in place there. And then the only tricky part is I'll have to make some kind of a mount for this nut. So that's another reason I wanted to do the mock-up out of wood, so I could see how things fit together, how much room is there. You know, if I was doing this exactly like Gingery called for, it would work perfectly, because these are everything is exactly the size like he calls for. So a little bit of engineering to make this threaded nut work. I think there's going to be just enough room in it. I don't think I'm going to have to mill off any of the nut, but I'll talk about that in a future video. That's kind of what my worst case scenario was, where I could always mill off a couple of these, the hexes, and make it more like a rectangular thing, because it doesn't really matter. What matters is that the nut is fastened securely to whatever it's fastened to, and it rides on the threaded rod, and then that something is fastened to the cross slide. And actually what I'm thinking about now is fastening this to a piece of angle iron that will mount onto the lead screw, except instead of the tail coming out this way, probably down below it. So there's plenty of room and plenty of options for me to do that, but should be, as my late great father used to say, it sure is an interesting problem. So should be something fun to work on, and I will keep you posted, and I hope this is useful to you and interesting. Like I said, make some comments, if you want longer or shorter videos. I actually had a comment on one of my videos, somebody asking me to make longer videos. So this one's a little longer than I normally do, and I hope it's useful to you. Thanks for watching. I'll keep you posted.